Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Legacy Farm, the podcast. I'm your host, JC Young, and today's topic of discussion is this: check your banker. So guys, as you know, I'm recording this podcast. This is the first part of 2025, and we are getting ready and getting prepped to go into renewal season for all of our customers, farmers, ranchers, and everybody listening to this podcast as you get into the renewal season for your operating line of credit. Now, typically this time of year is very stressful for a lot of people because the people that aren't structured and organized, they know that they're going to have to face all the things that they avoided essentially in 2024. And you know what I'm talking about there, right? You have this hunch, or you have this ultimately feeling that things are not turning out in 2024 or turning out well in 2024, but you don't know your numbers, so you don't actually know how bad it's going to be. And that's what you fear right now, is actually getting exposed. And then you have to go have a conversation with your banker and try to justify to them why they should renew your operating line of credit for 2025. So this obviously isn't a funny topic at all, guys. This causes a lot of stress and anxiety inside of these operations, and it just causes a ton of internal stress inside that person as well. And we've seen this time and time again. Now, if you've been listening to my podcast for a long time, or any of my other content, you know the biggest focus for us inside of Legacy Farmer is taking an operation from a place of chaos and disorganization financially to a place of confidence and clarity. Now, with our customers here going into their renewal for 2025, everybody's structured, everybody's ready, everybody's organized, everybody knows exactly what the bank's going to be looking at, everybody knows exactly what questions they need to ask their bank and things like that. Now, one situation that we ran into here this past week with one of our customers, this is a new customer that came in the past 3 or 4 months, has definitely had a lot of challenging things happen in her life, unfortunately, going into 2024 and things like that. Had a death in the family, had to take over an operation, things like that. Unfortunately, what I just said right there happens a lot more than what you guys realize. I've had several customers come into Legacy Farmer over the years where they're coming in because all of a sudden the operation was dropped on them because their parents passed away or their grandparents passed away, or there was just a death in the family. And now all of a sudden that weight and that responsibility is sitting solely on their shoulders, and they're trying to figure out, how the hell do I manage all this stuff, right? And the thing is, when you're trying to build somebody into the level of business owner that is required to successfully run a farm operation today, it's not something that happens overnight. It's something that happens over years. And sometimes you have a death or something like that in the family, and all of a sudden that time frame has moved up dramatically, and you're not ready for what you are essentially bearing now, right? And all the responsibility and risk that you're taking over and having to lead that operation. But anyways, with this customer, she came in 3 or 4 months ago, and like I said, had a very challenging 2024 and needed to learn how to get structured and organized and just know where the heck she's at financially. So this customer, I will give her kudos. She has done so much work, really just proven herself over and over again, and is willing to do anything and everything that's required to make sure that really her late husband's legacy lives on, right? And that she's able to carry on the family operation and things like that. Obviously a super cool thing to be helping her with and everything like that. Now, like I said, she went in and did a ton of legwork on her numbers, everything structured and organized in our software called Farmer Metrics. And anyways, she was getting ready to have her first meeting with the bank. Now, the meeting did not really go as planned, and I'm going to share with you guys exactly what happened. So this woman was, again, structured, organized, had all of her reports and everything ready to go, sent that over to the banker ahead of time. And this is a banker that they've been with for several years and that her husband and everything had worked with and stuff like that. When she walked into that meeting, essentially that banker hadn't really reviewed anything. She put in all this work, literally hours and hours and hours of going through her numbers, getting everything fine-tuned, structured, organized, making sure down to the last cent that everything was correct inside of her cash flow projections and everything that our team helped lead her through and getting those things set up. And she walks into that office, finds out that the loan officer didn't actually review any of it, and ultimately ended up taking the conversation to just going off of what the bank thinks it should be. And so this is one thing I've learned over the years, guys, and this is a red flag for me. If your bank is putting together a balance sheet for your operation, that should not be the balance sheet that you use. Your balance sheet should be created by you. The valuations and everything that you have on your assets and everything like that should be found by you, right? And that's a huge thing that we focus on inside of Legacy Farmer, because your bank, their incentives for putting a certain number on your balance sheet could be drastically different in things that you don't even know about, right? And this is where we get into just the difference between really taking control of your numbers and relying on your bank to do that for you. And with all of our customers, I never want our customers to have to trust their bank's balance sheet or rely on their banker for any of this critical information inside their operation. I want them to know how to find this information and for them to have conviction in their numbers as well. And so this woman definitely had conviction, but man, what a slap in the face to walk into a meeting with your banker. You're super excited. You've went through, you've done the work, you've put in hours and hours and hours over months months of doing this. I had everything ready to go, and you come to find out that your banker didn't even review any of it and just ultimately went back to his numbers and his system and wanted to just look at that and not even look at any of the numbers that you put together there. To me, that's an ultimate slap in the face. It's a massive red flag. And this is the problem, guys. I'm just telling you, this is why the name of this podcast is called Check Your Banker. You guys need to make sure, if you are providing information to your banker, that they are actually reviewing it, that they're actually looking into it, that they're actually doing their job, which is to do their due diligence and analyze the financial numbers and everything that you're giving to them, because their interest is to protect the overall investment risk of that bank. If they're just putting your numbers into a file and checking a box because they have examiners coming in, so they just want to check the box that they got your balance sheet, your cash flow, which is what a lot of bankers are doing, man, you're doing a massive disservice to the customer. And that type of stuff just pisses me off, because all of our customers in Legacy Farmer, they put in a ton of work to mastering these numbers and really presenting their operation in a professional way, to where one of the taglines that's really become for our customers is our customers are a bank's A-grade customer, right? And on a rating scale and everything like that every bank has, an A grade is obviously the best there because they're so well structured and organized. That doesn't come just overnight. These customers have put in months, or some of them years, of hard work in getting those things set up and structured that way. And so when a banker doesn't respect that, man, it pisses me off. But this is, and again, I want to preface this. I'm not saying that all bankers are this way, because I know that's not the case. I'm just saying, from my experience over the years, we've worked with 300 plus operations from across the country, which means I've seen 300 different banks as well. And I hate to say this, but about 80% of them operate their loan portfolio and operate in that bank the same way this woman's banker did. Like, that's just the harsh reality, guys. I'm just being truthful with you. I've said before that I know we have a problem in the industry with farmers not knowing their numbers. I would argue that we have just as big of a problem, if not bigger, of ag bankers that don't know ag or aren't giving these operations the level of interest and just time that they need to really analyze these numbers to make sure they're providing a good service to these customers. And this type of stuff, again, it just pisses me off, because, man, there's so many things wrong with the situation. One, you don't even care about your customer enough to review all the work that she's put in. You already have these assumptions about her before she walks in the room. But two, you're not even doing the bank a service there by making sure that you're protecting the interest of the bank, which means you do due diligence on whatever numbers your customers are bringing in, and make sure, you're protecting the interest of the bank. Pretty simple, right? So anyways, I share all this story with you guys is because just how banks interview you guys as coming in and being borrowers there, you need to be interviewing banks as well. And even, I don't care if it's your current banker or one that you're looking to go to in the future, make sure you're checking your banker. Make sure they are actually doing what they're supposed to do, and that they're really looking into your numbers. But also too, here's another thing for you. If they take your numbers and put them into their system, make sure you get a copy of the numbers from their system, because you as the borrower need to know how they are representing you to loan committee or the board or whoever they're presenting your operation to, and make sure they're presenting it in the right way. Because one thing this customer learned immediately after walking out of that meeting is she had zero trust that her loan officer was going to represent her operation based on the numbers that she spent months going through to put together and present to him. She knows he's not going to use any of that stuff. And this is the massive problem that we have inside the ag industry. Now, again, guys, I'm not saying all bankers are this way, because I know that's not the case. If you're a great banker, keep doing what you're doing. That's awesome. I'm just telling you from what we've seen from, unfortunately, a majority of banks across this country, where they're not giving their customers the level of respect or service, or just doing the due diligence they need to protect, one, the interest of the customer, but two, their primary interest, which is the interest of the bank, right? And so at the end of the day, my friends, make sure you are checking your banker. Make sure you are asking them to explain to you exactly what they're doing with the information that you're giving them. What if they have their own rating system or something like that? Ask them to explain it to you, and then get reports of exactly what they're sharing with loan committee, so that you can make sure they're representing your operation in the right way. Because if there's another thing I saw back when I was a loan officer as well, was that bankers would manipulate numbers or change cash flow projections in order to make things look better at loan committee. This happens, my friends, especially when we get into times like 2025, where grain prices aren't where we want to be, margins are a lot tighter, like things, it's going to be a tough year, right? And so when we get into times like this, it's really easy for people to kind of go a little bit off the edge, and they're going to manipulate numbers. That way they look better in front of loan committee, but it's a misrepresentation of your operation overall. So you want to make sure that the person you're working with, you trust, they're doing their due diligence, they are representing your operation in the right way, and just making sure they're freaking doing a good job. That's all I got to say. So my friends, hope you found value inside of this episode. More importantly, I hope you take action from what I've talked about here today, and we'll catch you in the next episode.